Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Dwayne, how you doing, love? Happy V-Day. Don't forget, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome in. Do not forget, this is Black History Month, so I'm dedicating this month to doing some Black history. Not, it doesn't mean that I only do stuff when it's I speak Black history all the time. Okay? So we're gonna take you down memory lane, and today we're gonna talk about 1963. What happened in 1963? So y'all come on in, get on in. Don't forget to hit that live. A couple more minutes, we will be into the lesson. All right, let's start this show, baby.
Hot dog with everything on it.
I'm not going to integrate.
Instead of serving me, they called in the police.
You've got to keep the white and the black separate.
I never could understand why white people hated us. As a kid, I just felt like they thought some of the black would rub off on them, you know.
Hey, Nick. Hey, party.
Well, Birmingham is a symbol of hardcore resistance to integration.
I always worked under this philosophy. You can never whip these birds if you don't keep you and them separate.
The good people of Birmingham had put Bull Connor in office 7 times.
Bull Connor. Mr. Bull Connor was the monster.
His title was Commissioner of Public Safety, and his mission was to keep the streets safe for white people.
He had a tank.
Army tank, white.
Under Bull Connor, Birmingham was the closest thing in America to a police state.
So the theory was, we need to bring all this out in the open. And if they're going to kill us, let them kill us in the middle of the day, not at night one at a time.
Most black people were afraid of the movement.
My mom was scared. She would always say, don't make any waves.
See, our parents, they couldn't go because they was working for the whites.
If they were seen on the picket line, then they ended up losing their job or having their house foreclosed or having their car repossessed. So the parents couldn't do it.
As a kid, we always wanted to think that these things would stop soon, and that mom and dad, since they fixed everything else, that they would fix it.
We thought that you could just shame the white man into, look how bad you treating your Negroes, you know. But I found out that they were determined not to give 1 inch.
Dr. King had gone to jail in hopes that thousands of protesters would follow his example and overwhelm the system. But it didn't work out that way. The blacks of Birmingham stayed home, and the press quickly lost interest.
Is he still in solitary confinement yet?
Yeah. I think he'll be there for a while. I don't know just when he'll be coming out.
One of the last things King did before going to jail was to place an urgent call to a fiery young preacher in Mississippi by the name of James Bevel.
Bevel was a secret weapon.
He was the brain of the bunch.
He was obnoxious as the devil, but that was his role.
Well, I knew that the Birmingham project was going very slow because they couldn't get many people to go to jail. So
just the atmosphere. They would call you to the car and roll the window up
And go home to.
My parents allowed me to go and spend the night. So when he brought her to Birmingham, she was lying in the back seat of his car. He had placed a blanket over her and put a pillow back there. And we just knew she was very ill because she wasn't talking. She wasn't moving. It was through the efforts of my mom that we were able to get her taken to, today it's known as Princeton Hospital, but then it was known as West End Baptist Hospital. But she was placed in the basement, as were all Black people that were brought there. And it wasn't because they didn't have the money to pay. It was because Black people were not allowed to be in the hospital rooms. So I had so many wonderful memories of her. But what I remember most was sitting in that chair by her bed in the basement of the hospital. And I wondered as I got older, why were we relegated to the basement?
I can remember one night my brother and I were coming from the 8th Avenue Theater. And
Exactly,
it was
my
about
brother.
11 o'clock and the police stopped us. And we were young, maybe 12 and 13, and they stopped us and searched us and kicked us. And I always wondered, why did they kick us? Because we were no trouble. We didn't resist. We did everything they told us to do, but they kicked us and told us to get home. And that always stuck in my mind because I always wondered, later I began to think, how would they feel if someone had done their child that way? Because we were just children. We were already afraid of them when they stopped us.
There was always police around in that area. So that was nothing unusual for us to see the policemen.
That was just the atmosphere. They would call you to the car and roll the window up on your head, put your head in here. And then when you put your head in there, they roll the window up, ask you questions about maybe something that had happened in the community, if you knew such and such a person. It was just the whole atmosphere at that time was oppressive.
We were born into that type of living. You were born saying that it was a white world, white had privileges. So you believe that.
And I realized when you could go into stores like Bizets and Loveman's and buy clothes, but you couldn't try them on if you were Black. I had an issue with that. So I knew something had to be done about it, but didn't know what. And then when I heard about the movement, I figured this is something that I can do to make things different.
The children brought about the 1964 Civil Rights Act that Lyndon Johnson signed. The children brought about the 65 Voting Act of Selma. Without Birmingham and the children, there could not have been a Selma and the Voting Act of 65. Know your history. Just read about it. Talk to people before we die. I think our baby boomers were just outstanding because they were ordinary people who did extraordinary things.
Yes, sister. Yes, sister. Yes, yes. All passenger stations in the state operated by any motor transportation company shall have separate waiting rooms or space and separate ticket windows for the whites and colors.
1963. It was a year that started much like any other year in Alabama. Temperatures were cold, and on New Year's Day,
Oklahoma goes down fighting as Alabama winds up on top 17-0.
but for some Alabamians, the year seemed to promise more of the same.
Bombing had become a way of life in Birmingham. Routinely, Black homes were bombed. As kids, we could be sitting on our porch any evening, on our front porch any evening, and we would hear that sound in the background. It always felt like the earth shook.
Damn, they bombed the whole house down.
Somewhere in the background, you'd hear this boom, but then you'd always hear you feel something that felt like the earth moved or shook. And then we knew, as young people, we had really come to know that sound. We knew what it was when we heard it. So we knew within a few minutes, the phone would ring. And when the phone rang, we knew that there would be someone on the other end saying, they just bombed the A.G. Gaston Motel, or they just bombed the home of A.D. King or Fred Shuttlesworth.
The new governor, George Wallace, after soundly defeating moderate attorney Ryan DeGraffenreid in a runoff, would set the tone for the coming year.
George actually ran the first time against John Patterson.
He lost, and the reason why he lost was because of he wasn't a die-hard in the wood racist, and the guy beat him who was.
I was working with the candidate that was running against him, Ryan DeGraffenreid. We did about 5 or 6 statewide telecasts, and I was his announcer. And I was not too sure how it would be accepted by the governor after I'd worked so closely with Ryan DeGraffenreid when he ran against him. They were in a runoff, by the way, but I think Ryan sort of ran out of money for the runoff, and Governor Wallace got elected.
George, as a matter of fact, had a meeting and was invited to and sat with A.G. Gaston and Arthur Shores and others here in the Negro community at that time. George Wallace did. But Bill Judge, after 4 years, boy, he says, never again. You'll never out-nigger me again.
He made it very clear in his inauguration about states' rights. So he left no doubt as to where he stood relative to segregation. He ran on that platform. He was inaugurated in that platform, and he governed on that platform. He was very much the segregationist when he took office.
In the name of the greatest people that have ever trod this earth, I draw the line in the dust and toss the gauntlet before the feet of tyranny. And I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
The conductor of each passenger train is authorized and required to assign each passenger to the car of the division of the car. When it is divided by a partition designated for the race to which such passenger belongs. Whoa, baby.
You know, those Kennedys up there in Washington, that little old Bobby Sox and his brother, the president, they'd give anything in the world if we had some trouble here. If we don't have any trouble, we can beat them at your own game.
Well, Bull Connor was totally, completely ignorant. The only thing he had
Hey, Chris, I missed you more.
It was discrimination.
Bull Connor probably had some connections to the KKK. Bull Connor wasn't the brightest guy out there.
I knew Bull when he would call games at Rickwood Field. He would be up there in the broadcast booth. Negroes could go to Rickwood Field. But there was a little place way out there in right field called the bleachers, way out there. Way in the back, you in the back gate and go in this little spot in there. And I'm going to give you an example of Bull Connor's broadcast. And there is in the second inning, and there they are. And there's Waldro Poe steps to the bat.
Damn.
There the wind up, and there comes a pitch, and here comes strike. And there Waldro Poe, he's digging in again, and here comes in ball one. And here it comes again, the pitcher winding up. Here comes Waldro Poe's dug in there, and Waldro Poe's got a hump at him, and there he is. There comes the pitcher, and there it goes, and there it goes, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes. It's landing in the coal bin. And what he was referring to, the coal bin, was black Poe, what looked like coal, and so it's in the coal bin. Now, that was Eugene Bull Connor.
He played right into type. I mean, the way he acted, the way he what he said, what he did.
You can never whip these boys if you don't keep you and them separate.
So they had a meeting out at Holt High School, I guess White Citizens Council.
You've got to keep the white and the black separate, just like you got to keep them in school.
And he was, ranting and raving, and he pointed out, he said, what's causing all the trouble around here is those blanketed black newsmen back there.
He was just an ignorant bully.
He wasn't ignorant by himself. They invited him to the school. He was not ignorant by himself. Okay. Let me see. It shall be unlawful to conduct a restaurant or other place for the serving of food in the city at which white colored people are served in the same room, unless such white and colored persons are effectively separated by a solid partition entering the floor upward to a distance of 7 feet or higher, and unless a separate entrance from the street is provided for each compartment.
The defiant city and state politicians made the state's business community uneasy.
The city commission at the time was bad for business.
Mayor Art Haynes had closed 67 parks, 38 playgrounds, 8 swimming pools, and 4 golf courses rather than to obey a court order to desegregate them.
So in 62, they began to look at a way to change the form of government from a 3-member city commission, and they decided that it would be best to go to a mayor-council form of government.
Later in the year, Birmingham citizens voted to change that commission, but Haynes and fellow commissioners would not go without a legal fight.
So at one time, what you had was you had both a city commission and a mayor-council form of government. You had 2 forms of government in 1963.
Just in case, Bull Connor would also run for mayor in the upcoming election. In February, the Alabama Supreme Court lets the upcoming election stand.
Colored persons may not address white persons by their given names. They must use the titles of respect. Miss, Mr., Mrs., Miss, Sir, Ma'am, Madam. Look at the church. Another one of our churches. Another one of our churches. Another one. I done say like
Georgia,
6 churches.
The SCLC and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. meet to discuss a plan called Project C.
It was mostly a local movement at that particular time, but the strategy was that Birmingham was ground zero. So you want to bring the heavy hitters in. Dr. King was the heavy hitter, and April was when he first began the focal point of the movement, or the focal point of the national attention on what was happening in Birmingham. Reverend Shuttlesworth was the key figure. And I don't know if history will ever give Reverend Shuttlesworth the credit that he's due. Reverend Shuttlesworth was on the ground. He was taking the beatings. He was there every day. He was at the meetings. He was hospitalized. He galvanized the community. He helped enroll children when the schools were integrated. Reverend Shuttlesworth was the key figure in the Birmingham movement.
March 5th, former Alabama Lieutenant Governor Albert Boutwell and
that's a difference between church today and church back then. Church today, they don't. That's why people always say they paid the pastors off. We ever hear people say a lot of people stop going to church in these days and times because they say they were paid off. I tell people, you don't need to go back and forth to argue. You can let history speak for itself. Go back and find it. And sometimes we don't find it in the book. Go to an older person. Go to an older person. They have some insight for you. Don't just go on what the books say. That's why I'm glad, I show you these videos so you can hear and see stuff beforehand instead of going by, well, statistically this happened and that happened and da-da-da. You get up close and personal, because even though you may be, if you're on the east side, a lot of your ancestors is there. A lot of your ancestry is that in that daggone south. So that may be some of our great-great-great-grandmothers, our great-great-great-grandfathers before they came on over to the east and the west.
Bull Connor are set for a runoff after the election fails to determine a winner. Sunday, March 24th, another bombing at a private home. 2 people are injured. Damage reaches 2 city blocks. April 2nd, Albert Boutwell is elected along with a 9-man council. Legal challenges still exist, leaving the city with 2 mayors, Boutwell and Haynes.
They decided that they would co-rule Birmingham.
Bull Connor would remain in charge of the police and fire departments. April 3rd, sit-ins would begin at downtown Birmingham lunch counters.
You had the boycotts, you had the selective buying campaigns, protesters coming downtown.
They were picking all the stores around. Because when you go into Love, you just go down, Nick Rose ground, well, Nick was ground in the basement.
Why can't I ride that train at the zoo? Why can't I see a duck at the park? Why can't I use the bathroom at Newberry's? Why is everything separate? Why am I at the back of the bus?
All circuses shows and tent expositions to which the intent is of more than one race is invited shall provide
we
less.
would try to integrate like Chris's and J.J. Newberry.
As a student, I was in the 11th grade. There were some people from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference came and started recruiting students from our high school. And I was secretary of our organization. And we would meet every Monday at Hopewell Baptist Church in North Birmingham. We would go to mass meetings after school, and we did that from January up until April.
Customers did not want to come to these stores downtown because, you had these children running around downtown, roaming around downtown. You had these boycotts, you had these protests. It was bad for business. We need to do something in order to restore the peace.
16th Street Baptist Church was the very first Black church built in Birmingham. So there were always people coming through. It was an exciting place to be. And on this particular day, I was working in the back. I think I was doing something with the mail. And normally there are always people there. I didn't think anything about it, but this group started singing. And the songs that they were singing, I think was what got my attention. So I was sure that I wanted to be
part of the changes being made, then surely I want it to be.
I have had many experiences.
Since I got these kicks,
a relatively young life, but I have never in my life
had an experience like I am now having in Birmingham, Alabama. This is the most inspiring movement that has ever taken place in the United States of America.
Reverend Martin Luther King, Ralph Abernathy, and Fred Shuttlesworth lead a march despite an injunction prohibiting them.
Oh, that's good, Nikki. That's good, Nick.
King is arrested and jailed. It is from this jail that he writes a letter to the white clergy of Birmingham.
They felt that the local authorities could better handle what was going on without his intervention. That was his response, in which he came back and said that their stance would do nothing to help deal with the problems in Birmingham.
Easter Sunday. Blacks attempt to attend worship services at white churches. 32 people are arrested, marching to City Hall. The following week, demonstrators staged sit-ins at local lunch counters. Many are arrested. As April concludes, the movement appears to be losing steam. The leaders decide on a bold move.
They said that they wanted the children to participate.
One of the graduates from the Hooper City High School was a participant, and she came out and recruited us. She wanted her school to be a part of it.
I would go with my father every Monday night to New Pilgrim Baptist Church. He was a musician for the Alabama Christian Movement Choir, one of the musicians there. And I would listen as the speakers gave the agenda for the night, and everybody was just so into it, and I became into it as well.
They had a meeting at 16th Street Baptist Church.
The place was just packed with children excited to see Dr. King.
The children were used because there are a lot of older people, and some older people were afraid. And then some business and some working folks was afraid because they'd lose their job.
The lady that my father worked for, a lot of members of my family had worked for her. And one time my older brother had gotten into some trouble, and she helped my dad get him out of it. This was before the marching started. But he came home and told us that she told him that if any of us got in trouble for marching, she wouldn't be able to help him.
Reverend Shuttlesworth tells the story that the night before the first march, that he and Dr. King argued in the hotel room. You're sending children to do the job that adults should be doing. And Dr. King listened, and I think he was.
Yeah, Dwayne.
James Bevel made the children march. Dr. King was not in favor of the children marching. He did not want them hurt.
During that previous evening and during the night, Reverend James Bevel had started the wheels turning and had already alerted the children.
He was closer to our age, when I'm maybe 20-something years old, so we could readily identify with him.
Don't worry about your children. They are going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail. For they are doing a job for not only themselves, but for all of America and for all mankind.
We heard about it on radio.
We said there's going to be a party.
If you listened to Shelley,
I got that video
or
too.
If you had attended that meeting,
Nick.
you knew exactly what that meant.
Here's going to be the code word. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a party in the park this morning. That's the sign everybody to go.
We teenagers, everybody knows Tall Paul, y'all. He was with WENN, and so was Thin Man.
And we knew when he said D-Day, we knew nobody goes to school that day.
So at 11 o'clock the next day at my school, someone showed up with a big poster board sign, and it said, "It's time." The students left the school.
All the schools around Birmingham.
They climbed fences. Some of them just walked out of the doors. Some came out through the window.
The gates were locked.
So I tell you, boy, there's nothing like ever when you get to hear from the people, and then they're living in their time, and then the man spoke upon his father. And then now he got more stuff to tell his children. Now, these kids went out there.
So we had to either climb the fence or we tried to make a big hole, tear that fence down to get out. So when it was time to go, all of us just had to go. And we marched from my high school from 6th Avenue all the way over to 16th Street Baptist Church.
We didn't go to school that day. We went straight to the march.
We started out over on 33rd, over in Collegeville, and walked on down to 16th Street.
We got there, it was so many children from everywhere. I mean, all schools.
We were told to leave the church and walk with someone that you didn't know, because there were students from all schools, and we were headed to City Hall. Not to say anything to anyone else. There would be people there jeering the crowd, maybe, but not to say anything, but just go on until we got to City Hall. There we knew once we got there, we would kneel and pray and sing freedom songs.
And we walked straight on down and walked in twos and walked in pairs, and that's where they had the paddy wagons, and they arrested us there.
And if we walked across the park, you could see the dogs barking at us. So when we got to 5th Avenue and 17th Street, that's when the hose pipes and the dogs and everything hit us. They taught us how to fold ourselves up to keep from getting hit in the face.
What happened was that the local authorities really played into the hands of the demonstrators and the protesters.
We were in the park, and when the marchers came out of the church and started across the park, that's when the fire hoses came out. And of course, everybody started running then, and they just started spraying the water on all around.
The water hose experience is a very painful experience.
When you hit with that water, it felt like a bunch of bumblebees on you. And it was stinging. He was trying to keep it out your eye, and it was a very hurting situation.
It was hard. I mean, it would literally knock you down.
No more weeping. No more weeping. No more weeping over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Well, we have 4 proposals or demands. One, the desegregation of all of the facilities in the stores, downtown stores, and if they have branches, these would be included also. That would include desegregating the lunch counters, the fitting rooms, the restrooms, and what have you. Second, upgrading better employment opportunities for Negroes in all of these stores. Third, we are urging the merchants to recommend to the city commission, the city council, the dropping of all of the charges against the persons who've been arrested in these demonstrations, because we feel that all of them have been unjustly arrested. They are only seeking their constitutional rights on the basis of the First Amendment of the Constitution. The fourth thing is a request that the merchants will urge the city commission or the city council to appoint a biracial committee to deal with set a timetable for the integration of the public schools, the opening of the parks on an integrated basis, the integration of the library, and all of the other areas where we have segregation in Birmingham.
In a way, it was fun, but it was kind of frightening too.
Everybody was together, and we talking, we singing, and we going to do what we wanted to do.
One of the things that the protesters wanted to do was get arrested, fill up the jails. That was part of the whole strategy.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back nationally, to see those things happening in Birmingham, in the United States.
I was 16 years old.
15.
I was 18.
I was 16.
Oh, actually, I was 15. I had a birthday that really come, and I had really turned 16.
14.
I was 14.
There were so many students there, and they were trying to figure out what to do with us.
And after we got into city jail, there was Dick Gregory, the comedian. You can see the bruises on him. And he gave us a show, and it was just unreal.
I didn't think when I went that I was going to be jailed.
I went to jail. Then when they locked you up, that was the scary part, but after you stay in there so many days, you don't worry about it.
The police were very cruel. They would come in on you while you were taking a shower at night. So we took our shower in the daytime.
No phone call, no nothing. So on the 5th day, a guy had got out and he called my parents. My father and uncle came and got me out of the Belfast County jail. They had been calling the hospital, the morgue, and everywhere other kids were, but they couldn't find me.
I was taken to city jail. It was full. They took me to juvenile court. It was full. They took me to the fairgrounds. It was not full. So for the next few days, that's where I was.
We were taken to county jail, and we were locked up there. We stayed there overnight, and then from there to Fair Park. That's where I was there for 8 days.
I stayed in about 3 days.
And we stayed at the fairground from that Saturday until that Thursday when I was released.
I was in jail for 6 days.
My sister came up. My father stayed in the car, and she came to identify me. And they asked, "Is this your sister?" And she said yes. And I went home.
May 8th, with the whole world watching, Birmingham businesses and the new political leadership promised to talk.
In the city of Birmingham, the Department of Justice some time ago instituted an investigation into voting discrimination. It supported in the Supreme Court an attack on the city's segregation ordinances. We have, in addition, been watching the present controversy to detect any violation of the federal civil rights or other statutes. In the absence of such violation or any other federal jurisdiction, our efforts have been focused on getting both sides together to settle in a peaceful fashion the very real abuses too long inflicted on the Negro citizens of that community. Today, as the result of responsible effort on the part of both white and Negro leaders, over the last 72 hours, the business community of Birmingham has responded in a constructive and commendable fashion and pledged that substantial steps would begin to meet the justifiable needs of the Negro community. Negro leaders have announced suspension of their demonstration.
We would hope that this channel of communication between the white and Negro communities will prevent the necessity of further protest action or demonstrations such as have been.
May 11th, the A.G. Gaston Motel and the home of Reverend A.D. King are bombed. President Kennedy sends U.S. troops to military bases near Birmingham.
I call upon all the citizens of Birmingham, both Negro and white, to live up to the standards their responsible leaders set last week in reaching the agreement. To realize that violence only breeds more violence, and that goodwill and good faith are most important now to restore the atmosphere in which last week's agreement can be carried out. There must be no repetition of last night's incidents by any group. This government will do whatever must be done to preserve order, to protect the lives of its citizens, and to uphold the law of the land.
The situation's quiet at the present time. We are hopeful that this matter, as the President said last night, will be worked out by people in Birmingham, people of goodwill, attempting to get this very serious and difficult situation resolved.
May 20th, after being suspended by the Board of Education, 1,081 black students are sent back to class by a federal judge. On May 23rd, the Alabama Supreme Court rules that the new mayor and council can assume power. June 11th, after George Wallace refuses to desegregate the University of Alabama, President John F. Kennedy federalizes the Alabama National Guard. Newsman Joe Langston covered the event.
Well, the owners of the radio stations got together and decided that they didn't want to have one reporter reporting the activities on the campus. They didn't want a repeat of what happened at Ole Miss. And there was a lot of rioting going on over there. And they didn't want the same thing in Tuscaloosa. So they chose me to cover the thing. Nobody was allowed on campus. Those 2 students were the only ones going to register that day. State troopers everywhere. There were a few of us inside Foster Auditorium. That's where they registered back then. And we were told, John came and said, now, Governor Wallace is going to be asked to step aside at the door by Katzenbach, Assistant Attorney General. He will refuse to do so. Katzenbach will return to the National Guard Armory where they were headquartered. He will federalize the National Guard. General Graham will come back, ask the governor to step aside. He will do so. The students will be admitted. We were told all this before anything happened.
I stand here today as governor of this sovereign state and refuse to willingly submit to illegal usurpation of power by the central government.
This afternoon, following a series of threats and defiant statements, the presence of Alabama National Guardsmen was required on the University of Alabama to carry out the final and unequivocal order of the United States District Court of the Northern District of Alabama. That order called for the admission of 2 clearly qualified young Alabama residents who happen to have been born Negro.
Well, I would just like to say that I'm glad that the registration is over and everything is over now. I think we can get down to studying. This is our main purpose here, and I'm glad that this has all been over now, and all we have to do now is get down, go get our books, and start studying. That's all.
She's so pretty.
Well, I'd like to say that at this time, this is our first and final press conference. And we'd like to say that we are very happy to note that our registration has taken place without incident. And we hope that we will be able to get on to our main purpose for being here, and that is to get an education.
It went off very smoothly, no problems, no nothing.
So all this consists of these male. Every member of white Negro male shall provide for such white Negro male responsibility. They said I go different bathrooms and stuff.
July 12th, the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals orders Birmingham schools to desegregate by fall. July 23rd, the Birmingham City Council repeals all segregation ordinances.
The past has taught us a great deal. But the real concern of this city is the future. I hope this committee will never look backward at the past, except to learn its lessons and avoid its mistakes. Let us put the past firmly behind us. Let us fix our eyes and our attention on the present and what lies ahead.
July 31st, the Justice Department files suit against Jefferson County to reinstate 2,000 rejected black voter applicants. August 20th, another bomb explodes at the home of Arthur Shores.
When the bomb went off, it shook our house. So we went out and ran up the street there. We pretty much knew the direction of the sound. So we ran up there and we saw that his house had been bombed. And I remember the police came out and made everybody disperse, and wouldn't even let you cut your front porch light on. And we walked around through the community, and they said that if you didn't cut your front porch light off, they would shoot it out.
August 27th, the March on Washington draws hundreds of marches from Birmingham.
We're going to march. We're going to walk together. We're going to stand together. We're going to sing together. We're going to stay together. We're going to moan together. We're going to groan together. And after a while, we'll say, freedom, freedom, freedom.
God bless you.
September
Who knew that?
4th, In the shadow of another bomb at attorney Arthur Shore's home,
Well, I said that
white
before.
demonstrators attempt to stop the integration of Graymont Elementary School, West End, and Ramsey High School.
Okay. It shall be unlawful for any amateur white baseball team to play on any vacant lot or baseball diamond within 2 blocks of playground devoted to the Negro race. And it shall be unlawful for any amateur colored baseball team to play baseball within 2 blocks of any playground devoted to the white race.
Sunday, September 15th. As fall approached, the success of the previous months of struggle seemed to promise that change would indeed be coming. But any hope of the end to the violence would be crushed on a warm, rainy Sunday morning.
I remember how Janie and Adam and myself, how we walked to church, having so much fun.
Earlier that morning, bombers would quietly place a box of dynamite attached to a timer under the steps of the church.
Churches were being bombed throughout Birmingham. And the 16th Street Baptist Church was a well-known meeting place for blacks at that particular time.
Addie Mae.
She was so fun-loving. She loved how she played baseball, and that little time we had together, I just really loved her, and she loved to be around me because we were so close in age, and she loved to draw. She was so sweet. She wasn't afraid of anything.
Cynthia was what we might call today a soulmate. Cynthia was adopted, and what I remembered most about her, she was very petite, but she had a great sense of humor.
Denise, she was so quiet and sweet, and she would get along with everybody. Everybody just loved her. And Carol, we was all in the choir together, and we would stop by Carol Robertson's house to walk to choir rehearsal with us. They were just nice young ladies.
Something that's rarely mentioned is that there were actually 5 girls in the bathroom. The 5th girl was Sarah Collins. She was 12 years old, and Sarah survived the blast that took place in the women's bathroom here. I arrived at church on September 15th about 9:30. I went upstairs to the church office. All of the adult classes were upstairs, so I took them their materials. Then I went back downstairs, but I see them there in the bathroom. And when you entered the women's bathroom, there was one large room with freestanding mirrors and sofas and so forth. And beyond that large room was another door that led into the actual bathroom where the toilets and the face bowls where you wash your hands were. And they're talking and primping, and I know that there are 4 of them there. What I don't know is that there's a 5th person there, Sarah, who's in the back part of the bathroom. But I spoke to them, and they were laughing and talking. And then I hurried. I said, well, let me get these reports done, and hurrying up the steps. And as I cleared the top of the steps, the phone was ringing in the church office. And I go in, and there's no one there. I answer the phone, and the male caller says 3 minutes. And as quickly as he said that, he hung up. Holding my material still in my arms, I just hung the phone up, walked.
Can you imagine? I don't even want you to imagine, but can you imagine? That is on her hands forever. Forever is going to be if I didn't answer that phone. If I didn't answer that phone. Why did I go answer the phone? Our parents, grandparents, and others lived through so much. Sometimes, they want to They want to push everything but remembrance. Remembrance. Can you imagine being a young baby that age, and because you picked up the phone, the BBBBB went off? Can you imagine that? Imagine you have to live with that for the rest of your life. Wasn't her fault. But she's never going to say, oh, it wasn't my fault. She knows that she's the one who picked up that phone. God bless her. God bless her.
Out of this door and began walking into the sanctuary. And I actually took about 15 steps. We counted them one day. And I was right at this point here, about to walk down this aisle when the bomb exploded.
I was standing over from by the sink, and they came in, and as they were leaving out, they stopped. The niece added to tie the sash on her dress, and I was looking over from the sink. But when she reached her hand out to tie the sash, and all of a sudden I heard a loud sound, boom, and I called out Eddie's name about 3 times. First I had to call Jesus because it scared me so bad. And I said, Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. And I couldn't see nothing because the debris, the glass and stuff got in my eyes, and it blinded me instantly. And all of a sudden, I heard someone outside holler, somebody bombed the 16th Street Church. And when they came in, they came straight in, and
you see they took that. Do y'all catch the picture? Do you see the picture here? Look what the bomb done did. Look what the bomb done did. Look, it took away his face. Cause y'all done had no business having that coke. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what color he is. Y'all know what color is Yeshua. Y'all know the color by Yeshua. It ain't that color. Look how it went straight through his face. Okay, now.
And got me out. And I found out later on in the year that his name was Samuel Rutledge. He came in and put me in his arm, and he carried me out through the hole that the bomb made.
This was a door, and the steps came down like that. The person hid under the steps to plant the bomb, and then the bomb exploded inward to this window here, which is where the bathroom was. The area where the girls were, is not an area that you can physically stand in now. But if you could, this is it. This is like the inside looking out. This is for people who were actually standing in the bathroom where the explosion came inward. This is the clock that was upstairs. This is how we know what time the bomb exploded, 10:22, because the clock stopped.
The ambulance came and rushed me to the hospital. I was laying on this little cot for a while, waiting for the eye doctor because he wasn't in. And I remember Janie came in, and when she came in, I asked her, what was Addie? And she said that Addie had hurt her back, but she was coming to see me tomorrow. And
Addie never
but later
came.
on, she was talking to somebody, and she told them that one of her sisters was killed in the bombing. And I was upset because I didn't understand why they had to kill Addie. And then later on,
Addie,
after I come out, they rushed me to surgery and they operated on my eye. And I found out that the other 3 girls, Denise, Carol, and Cynthia, they was killed also. And I was going through this thing in my mind all the time. crying at night,
Oh.
wondering why these girls was killed.
Oh.
I just didn't understand.
It was something that we never talked about. No one ever even said, well, are you afraid? Are you okay?
One thing about it, when I went back to school, they didn't counsel me. They didn't give me any counsel. And I went back to school in a terrible condition.
That was a proverbial shock heard around the world, because that just showed how dastardly and how cowardly and how mean-spirited, how racist Birmingham was. That 4 little girls in a church, of all places, were bombed, including one girl who was decapitated. If that doesn't...
I know for a fact, majority of us heard these stories, but when you get to hear it from people's mouth, like Addie, like we know of the 4 girls that got boomed, but to hear from a friend of hers who was there with her, it makes it more touch. It makes it more real. And we've all been to school. We can read stuff in the book all we want, but when you hear, I said, "Where's Addie?" That was her best friend, Addie. Where's Addie? You know, and they told her she's okay, but they knew Addie wasn't there no more. You know.
Show evil, I don't know what does. The 4 charged with the bombing were not even arrested until 15 to 20 years later.
They still lived a long life, and yet when it was time for them to be tried and go to jail, only thing they did was just die. They didn't spend no time in jail. He just died.
Look at her. If you look at her eyes, it's at her age. To her, it happened yesterday. To her, it happened yesterday. I don't know if y'all can see that tear getting ready to drop out her eyes, but you can tell every time she talks about it, she is still disturbed. This is what they did to our kids. This is another method they did to children, because each generation you have children. So we did this to this generation, we did that to this generation, we're going to do this to generation. Even when they brought in all the drugs and stuff, to we had stuff to go on in our generation.
And still, some is out there. I really believe some are still out there.
Oh, they'll be shouting. They'll be shouting.
We should all be able to go to the movie. We should all be able to swim. We should all be able to walk in a store and order food if we want to. And that was just my strongest word back then. I felt very determined.
Martin Luther King said something, there was no slavery. He said, no one is free until we are all free.
I would like to tell our young people to take charge. Don't take life for granted. These things happen, and it happened within your lifetime.
It took us in 63 to do what we had to do.
I want to say that I'm glad that I was a part of the children's movement at the
Same topic to different people, because you got some people that they made it about Martin. I'm glad that this one didn't make it about Martin King. They kept it to the people. I'm gonna be thinking of that name, Addie.
They told me Tall Paul was there and Shelley the Playboy, and they agreed with nonviolence.
I was somewhat of a crazy guy, I guess.
Shelley the Playboy. Now I gotta remember, this is 1963. Now we will have people in here that was born before 63 and a little bit after 63. So if you look at like somebody in this chat who was, remember King passed away in 68, right? 68. 68 only been 50, 53, 54 years. Not even 54 years as we speak, but 54 years as we come. So King only been dead 54 years. That's it. Don't make it sound like the things that happened to us happened so long ago. People always have to go back to slavery. No, we're already out of slavery. We're already out of slavery. And what's your point? Only time people want to go back into history is when something happens to them or their family. Then this is hard to do the black man. But you ain't think about the black man yesterday. You didn't think about the black woman yesterday. You don't respect your elders. You don't give two hoots. Matter of fact, a lot of you youngsters being like y'all in a research era that y'all don't know what's really real. Y'all read something and think y'all know something, or y'all don't read and still think y'all know something.
Shelly Stewart, he was the DJ for real back during the day. And he had a red car and had Shelly the Playboy written on it.
Good doobly woobly. Shelly the Playboy was the mouth of the South.
What's up, everybody? No one had a closer relationship with the kids in Birmingham. Make some noise, everybody, make some noise! Woo!
Being on the air, you had music, which is the best. But each time you have an opportunity, you talk about freedom. You talk about rights. Didn't take very much to get the kids. The kids knew. They knew.
We started with the football players and the cheerleaders and the beauty queens.
I was an 88-pound majorette.
I got involved in movement because I was talking to a little pretty girl. Ooh, I can see myself wearing long skirts, donut socks.
Good morning, little school girl. Good morning, little school girl.
We broke it down very simply. Look, you can get hit by a baseball bat playing baseball, but segregation destroys the inside of your mind and your soul, and it doesn't heal that easily.
Mm-hmm. I played football on the football team. I played defensive tackle.
Reverend Bevel asked, have you ever wondered why your helmets are always blue and white, but school colors are green and gray? He said, you get the equipment that the white schools discard.
I'm glad I chose the movement and not athletics.
Bevel would turn down the lights and show a movie from the sit-in movement in Nashville.
I saw a bunch of coloreds sitting on the stools. They looked like they were just trying to egg on a fight.
The stark reality of nonviolence being met with violence was shocking and scary, and it drew kids in by the hundreds.
Bevel would tell us, Ms. Cotton would tell us, if you cannot restrain from being violent, maybe the movement was not for you.
Well, that was a beautiful concept after you think about it later. But when you get your head knocked on,
ouch!
You really gotta think real hard and twice. Because the fellas down on 15th Street, those fellas would fight back. They came to fight. But because of Dr. King and them girls, they would say, y'all come on, cooperate. We need a peaceful protest.
On Saturday, April 20th, Dr. King bonded out of jail. His release caused barely a ripple.
We were defeated here in Birmingham. They had beaten us down into the ground.
Dr. King, in our strategy session, says that the only way to break Birmingham, we're going to have to fill the jails. So I say, I agree. I absolutely agree with you on that. Now, how I fill the jail is my business.
I
got you.
That night, Dr. King speaking, he was trying like mad to get somebody to go to jail, and they just didn't stand.
I remember King inviting any volunteers to go to jail the next day. And nobody stood up.
I bet you'll be a woman. I know it. I know it. I know it. I know it. Don't ever, if anybody ever come up in here and talk about the black woman, send their ass straight to double sticks. I told you, the first person who's gonna stand up was gonna be a woman. You see with your own eyes, right? Do statistics, ninja. That's one of our great. I don't care where you live at. We all from down here before we migrated. That could be one of my great aunts. Not true. I'm like, hello now. Hello somebody. I told you a woman's gonna stand up first. The women don't play. Us black women don't play. Dag nugget. And y'all still want to disrespect the black woman? Huh? How long we gonna do this, huh? And then the man steps up. I ain't gonna take away from the men who got busted in their head, but we got busted in our head too. We got sprayed, busted in our head, and hit with stuff too. You would think that would bring the race closer. You would think that would bring the race closer. And it also takes away from the traditional woman. Women was traditional. The man was ahead of the man. Was too much stuff going on. What are you talking about? It was too much stuff going on. What are you talking about?
That was it. Nobody knows that, but okay.
Dr. King said no.
Morning, children. It's Shelley the Playboy here on WENN.
D-Day was the day, I tell you. This was the day where every student in Birmingham knew that it was going to happen.
But you've got to remember that all of the planning was a secret.
Good. Good morning, children.
The DJs would talk in code and use songs from the hit parade as signals for action.
I remember that morning.
Now they learned from their forefathers how to speak in code. They learned from their forefathers how to speak in code. Can't play the music, sorry guys.
I mean, don't go. You go to school. I told my mother, I said, I hear you.
Here come the damn copyright strike for 3 seconds of a song.
I said I wasn't going. I said, I hear you.
We would have people picked out. Your job is to turn this file on, turn that file on, get the football team, basketball team, get the cheerleaders, get the band.
It was right at 11 o'clock when they arrived. They came up to the fence with a sign that just said, it's time.
When we said, let's go for the window. And I told the others, come on, let's go. And I looked around and, all I could see was my own fanny almost, I hollered back up at those kids, but you said you were gonna go. You promised. And that's when kids started coming.
Woohoo! They were coming out of windows, coming out of doors.
It's so beautiful. You wouldn't believe it. Mrs. Scurry turned her back as we got up.
And she turned her back. But she can say she ain't seen nothing. I ain't mad at you, sister. I'm not mad at you.
He took it from there.
I wanted to work out with him, but it was my job.
She turned her back. God damn it. I love it. I love my people. I love my people. I love my people.
Once the students start moving, the principal, the teachers, and everybody had to step aside.
My boyfriend tried to stop me from going, and I walked around the building, and I came right back out there and went at the gate.
You have about 2 children left in the class, maybe. Everybody's gone.
I'm sure that morning, Beverly was nervous about who was going to show up.
At first, there were a few, then there were hundreds, then there were thousands.
We heard that kids were coming in from all over the city. And when we heard that they were coming in from out of town, we got more excited.
And I had a cool card. They said, okay, we need you to
Hey,
ride the Fairfield.
trigger the light, baby.
Students outside the
Boom,
classroom,
boom,
we're gonna
boom.
go back in. Lo and behold, when I got out to Fairfield, the whole campus was outside of the building, and they all said, "We going to Birmingham."
20 kids climbed on the car, and 800 followed behind him.
Oh, Lord, copyright strike. That's a shame. Well, I ain't got this. I don't have none of these monetized anyway, so I'm going to play the music.
From another direction. You said, where are all these kids coming from?
You've never seen that many people in your life. It's like a football game.
Y'all, I'm telling you what. You got to love your people. You got to love your people. You got to love your people. Who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you that? Oh, check out that is you in my chat. I'm not in your chat, baby. I'm right here live. Yes, baby. You did. Again, who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate yourself? Who did it? Look at your people. Look at your people here fighting for something. What? If they take it. Let me tell you. That's why I don't deal with these men and women genders, because they promote an agenda that we never had. That's right. Love your people. Why? So if we can talk about women and men so much, guess what? We're gonna forget this. We're gonna forget when we were united. They're trying to make you forget when we weren't united. So they're gonna throw out things like high value, a man with money, stardom. They're gonna throw out all this mess. They've been doing that forever. They've been doing that forever. Why do you think some quote unquote black folks made it? They had to let some of us in the door so they will be in their door and out of your door. If I can make some of them rich and give them this thing called status, give them some money that we're going to take back from them anyway, and we're going to call IRS or the tax fraud, or we're going to do something. We're going to do something to take it right back from them. But we're going to let them keep enough money so they would think that some black folks are better than white folks. But I liked it when we all was effed up. I liked it when we was all messed up and all we had to rely on was each other.
Kids walked as far as 18 miles to get to Birmingham in order to be arrested.
And the purpose was to go to jail.
The gathering place was 16th Street Baptist Church.
Oh, we poured into 16th Street like a waterfall.
They were coming in all doors, from all directions, from the basement, from the back.
That's the
It was
same
just
lady
like
from the other
one
one.
big death rally. Here's Park, are you in the house? Or Webster, are you in the house?
Yes, my people. Hey. Oh, Lord, copyright.
Kelly Ingram Park was the big green buffer between Black Birmingham and the white downtown. 16th Street Baptist Church was on one corner, and by noon, Birmingham's finest were on the other. It was all laid out like a battlefield.
Just think about it now. I get the shakes.
Oh no. I wasn't even
Martin
home
Luther
earlier.
King spent the day at his
It wasn't
motel
me, love.
wrestling with his conscience.
A lot of people thought the kids were going to get hurt. But the reality of
Trigger the light. You know how you can tell if it's me or if it's not me? If you don't see that boom, 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 it ain't me. You see the boom, 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 trigger the light. That's something we share. That's something that we share. I done gave it up to everybody. So whoever cloned her page, don't put the boom, boom, boom in there. But if you put that boom, boom, boom in there, it's not me.
Of it was that we were born black in Alabama, and we were going to get hurt if we didn't do something.
When noon came and went without a public appearance by King, Bevel opened the floodgates.
Oh, Lord.
They came out and
We don't play. You won't see this again, though. You won't see this no more.
That does it. But in the next 50.
More kids were coming in the back door.
50. 50. 50. So it's like, when they gonna stop?
I think when the police arrested us, they thought that we would be afraid and start to cry.
Hey!
It looks to see that we were happy and singing and glad to be arrested.
It's after about 12 o'clock. So maybe we got 5, 600 students in jail now. I told Bull Connor, we have to take a break.
And he walked out in the middle of the street where the police were. Don't you think we ought to take a break? You need to let your men cool out. We'll cool out. Take a lunch break.
And he said, yeah, well, we need a break because my officers have been out here and haven't had anything to eat. And beside, he says, here come the lunch truck.
The next thing I knew, they passing out Coca-Colas to him.
Bull Connor saw me eating that salad. He said, hey, what that nigga do?
Soon as the rest period ended, he come back over where we were. They go back over where they were, and they start back to kick it back.
By 3 o'clock, almost 1,000 black kids were under arrest for parading without a permit.
There were so many kids in jail, the schools couldn't teach. I remember that so well because my classroom was in jail. A whole class.
We were told to say we were 15, and that would keep us out of big jail. Didn't work in my case.
I can remember some of them thinking that we're going to kill them. They'll tell me, oh, I know you're going to kill me, but I want to call my mama first.
When the children were in jail, the people were pulling them. Dr. King, my daughter in jail. Dr. King, my son in jail. Dr. King, what are we going to do? I mean, parents just all around him talking about their children in jail. Just as calm, just as nice.
Don't worry about your children. They are going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail. For they are doing a job for all of America and for all mankind.
My father told me I could not be part of that movement. I had better not go back downtown. He didn't tell me I couldn't go back to church, which is where it all started in the first place, right?
Well, in that church, I have 2 Birmingham detectives. Well, we had a microphone. We didn't tell them that. You've got to know what the other guy's doing if you're going to whip him.
What's up, brothers and sisters? Today was D-Day. Tomorrow will be double D-Day.
By day 2, the word was out, and more than 3,000 spectators converged on the church to watch. But no one could have imagined what they were about to see.
When we got to the park, police was lined up.
They were marching. Got ready. Oh, good Lord, I scared to death. And then the officers gave the order to open up.
They aimed for your head to knock you down. And that water had pressure behind it. It hurt.
During the meeting the day before, they had told us the policeman might hit you, the policeman might have dogs, they might spit on you, they might kick you. But I remember thinking that no one said anything about water hoses.
You could see that the first blast of water dispersed the crowd. But when the water subsided, there were 10 kids still standing. And they were singing one word over and over.
Glory, hallelujah.
The crowd surged back behind him. The fireman was certain to face with 200, then 500 protesters.
Bull Connor standing there with his hands on his hip. Shoot the water on those niggers.
The water was so powerful, the 4 men couldn't hold it steady.
We could hear the firemen yelling, knock the niggers down.
Look at that. And wasn't that hard to knock us down, damn it?
Right down straight, like a sheet of paper.
And look, it would sting so bad.
Suddenly you could see against the sky these bricks and stones.
They were calling us SOBs, bastards, and it started with the rocks and the bottles.
They were arresting them as fast as they could.
Bull came through with that damn tank.
And black folk were throwing and hitting that tank with balls, rocks.
Bull Connor would tell them,
Bring the dogs out.
Most of the dogs were on leash, but if you reach out, the dog's gonna bite you.
There was this vicious big old dog. They turned it loose on the smaller child, and the dog lunged at his throat, and it hit him and bit him.
Police had named this black dog nigger.
Dang.
Black German Shepherd.
They had nigga trained. Nigga would bite you.
The damn dog couldn't even be black. You see that shit? The damn dog couldn't be black. They don't call the poor dogs ninja. If it's black dog, what's the black? A poor dog couldn't be black in peace. Get out there and fight for us, ninja. Go on, get them ninjas, ninja. Mm-hmm.
A nigga would bite anybody, black or white. Didn't make no.
Firemen, journalists, and teenagers all went to the hospital.
I saw a fireman get smashed in the face.
Oh, well.
He was hurt. And of course, we were going to just ship him out.
Our police and sheriff's officers have met the first test with flying colors. They deserve great praise as they maintain the peace.
When President Kennedy saw his Saturday papers, he said the photos made him sick.
The embarrassment
Dick Gregory, God
for
bless
us
him.
around the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Kennedy called Birmingham. Kennedy had sent word down that if children got involved, that his administration couldn't support that kind of stuff.
President says stop the movement. I don't think so.
Well, the Kennedys knew nothing about the South. Why would they? They rich, Ivy League.
They know who don't know about the
He
star.
was talking with Dr. King and them about getting these kids out the movement, but it was out of Dr. King's hands.
Kids are all over the place.
You going to jail today?
Jimmy is going.
I went yesterday.
Why can't I go?
I'm going to jail. He's going to jail. We're going to have a party in jail. Look at him smiling. Black folks, boy, I tell you.
Then I'll struggle all over the country. Mr. Dick Gregory will be in Sunday.
Dick Gregory came out to march with the kids, and he was the most famous person we had ever seen.
I got there 20 minutes before I got arrested. They was already moved out. They rushed me out to the front of the line.
All of the policemen started running after them on the motorcycle.
Had to run, catch up with them. And a block later, we was all arrested.
Some children got out of jail, and they were so excited about it, they would turn around and go right back.
My mother said, boy, you in jail again? She said, boy, you better stay out of that jail. Those people are gonna hurt you. I said, no, they're not. Because we got God on our side.
Hi, Mom.
Once they were in
4,163
jail, it
arrests.
was kind of depressing.
It had rats and it was nasty and filthy.
They fed us bologna sandwiches with nothing on it, just dry bread. One sandwich now.
Bull Connor demanded that every child be interrogated.
Ain't that some shit?
They were asking me a lot of questions about why did you march? Who told you to march? Did they force you to march?
After you sit and ask the same 10 questions of hundreds of kids, you begin to say, what am I doing here? What
You
is
think?
the end of this madness?
You think?
We was in there about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks. And we was singing.
That's right.
Oh my God, we be singing.
That's right. You can't bring us down, man. You can't bring us down. Y'all see girls in there?
When they put us in.
Do you see girls in jail? Do you see girls in jail with the men? No, I don't argue with people. I let the freaking rhythm hit them. That's a quote from my man, Rock Kemp. Don't play. Don't play. You're not arguing with people. Anytime you think that somebody's more intelligent with you, then you need to go grab a book or do some research, because there is nobody smarter than you. And the women were, our black women were what?
In jail, the guys were in one side and the girls were on another side, and you could hear them. And they would sing songs. Then the girls would sing a song to
Thanks,
answer
Nick.
them back.
I knew you was on it. Oh, Lord.
Every day the movement struggled to head off violence from whites and blacks.
I call upon all the citizens of Birmingham, both Negro and white, to realize that violence only breeds more violence.
Yeah, sugar.
See, once you arrest 3,000 people, you have no trouble, especially when they ain't scared of you.
Clocking in at number 1.
By Saturday, some kids were coming downtown in their bathing suits.
Oh, Lordy.
It was fun.
Hey, baby, pass
black
So
people,
hot
boy.
that- You know what I'm saying? And just to get sprinkled around with the hose was beautiful.
Free water, right? Free water. Well, I'm taking a bath. There was a suspicion in the slash. All right.
Everything you can think of in her handbag. Why does she have those? For jail. Gotta look good in jail.
Look at all the ladies in jail. They dressed up pretty. I ain't mad at you, my black sisters. This goes to my mama, my grandmama. You gotta look good in jail. They got my sisters looking at her, looking all good in jail, smiling like, whoop, whoop, What up? What up? What up? No, what up? No, I mean what up? Oh my God.
I want equal right. I want equal right. Just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. I want my freedom just like everybody else.
There were 800 kids in the hog pens at the fairgrounds.
800 kids.
A crowd of parents gathered at the fence,
800
tossing
kids.
food, sweaters, blankets.
Amen.
When it started to rain, the cops walked to their cars and sat inside, dry.
That's right. We staying there with our babies.
And I was cold, and I wanted my mama, and I wanted my dad, and I was scared. I want my mama. I want to go home. They treated us like they did the livestock, and you know it really smelled like that too. and you're wet.
We thank you. We thank you. We thank you.
Children were released at random, sometimes in the middle of the night.
And their mama right there. Their mama right there for them.
I got out on
Their mama
Sunday,
right there.
and I wasn't ready to go because there were a lot of people still in jail.
My mom, when I got home, the first thing she did, naturally, she smelled me coming. So, oh girl, you can't go in that house. I need to wash you down. Need to, let's take the holes in it. I said, not any more water.
She came home. I remember my mama hugging her, and he said, "Bless your heart.
Bless
baby.
your heart, baby.
Bless your heart."
Amen. Amen.
Although many have been arrested,
We have already won a victory here in Birmingham. Because
Yes.
yesterday we filled up the jail. And today we filled up the jail yard.
That's right.
And
Amen.
on tomorrow, I don't know what they're gonna do.
By Tuesday, May 7th, the city of Birmingham faced a state of collapse. 3,000 students were stampeding through downtown in a victory lap. The police had been made helpless.
To my aunts and uncles who was born, and I don't mean just now, but all my uncles, I would call her aunt and uncle, I would like to say thank you. We don't say thank you to our elders enough. Say thank you. And you wonder why. You wonder why. A lot of people go, my mama this, mama. Look what your mother and father had to live through. Of course, all their screws are not right. That's all they know. Oh, they wasn't sensitive with me. They didn't care about my feelings. So they was out. Do you know when they was young, they got doing grown folk stuff. They was doing grown folk stuff. If you got anybody that you know that's in their 40s, I mean not their 40s, who's in their 60s, or 65 years old, tell them thank you. They have never, unless you see these type of videos, they have never been respected or never had the recognition or they contribute to freedom, our freedom. Now, we was already free, but you know what I mean, to equal rights and stuff like that. They have never got the recognition. And how many people go back in history and say, oh, wow. They can say, oh, wow, but they don't put that to the problems that we're having. That's why when they go old school, we didn't do like this, we didn't act like that. They meant it. They meant it. Well, times have changed. Well, if times have changed so much, that's because we see less of it. That's because they gave you the GUNNN. They gave you the pim to take out your brother. That's why we see the rest of it. They gave you the pew. Now take out your brothers and your sisters. Turn against your women. Men turn against men. Men turn against women. Women turn against men. This is what I want y'all to do. This is what I want y'all to do, and we ate it up. Ain't that what we doing? Isn't that what we're doing today in 2022? 2022 we in. Are we taking each other out? And is there a gender war? But see, back then, baby, we was going through a lot. You couldn't break us up. You could not break us up. So they sent their little snowflakes in, infiltrated. They sent their little snowflakes. They gave Trump some money. They told this one, hey, you can sing. Matter of fact, you sing really good. Come on over here with us. Leave them alone and come over here with us. You're going to have a good life. That's why if you're dealing with middle class people and these stars, these superstars and stuff, baby, they've been talked to already. They have been talked to already. Look at all the people who still continue these gender wars. They ops, baby. Them are ops. Them are ops. Anytime you sit around and talk about a woman all damn day, you are op. Anytime you're calling females on type, you are op. And then you think, and they mad that well, women do it too. Who started it? Who started it? And if it was masculine, why would you care what women say? Look at our forefathers right there. You think what a woman said? The daggone man, you think they was going against each other? And you can't say, well, because he was the head of the household. Well, if he was the head of the household, his woman was still was still in front with him. No, baby, I'm going too. Baby, we gonna fight. We gonna do this and we gonna do that. And you can't stay home and take care of the kids because the kids was like, you said we, right? The kids was like, you said the word we. We doing this as a family. Salute them kids in Birmingham. Salute.
Kids was everywhere. You know what I mean? All down through town.
We couldn't stop it. We couldn't contain it.
The white people were in panic.
They didn't know what to do. They'd turn you loose.
By the seventh day of demonstrations, it became obvious there was no end of children in sight.
I was sitting there in the jail and I said, no way to hold lid on this. The fear's gone.
There were 72 hours of intense negotiations. Movement leaders and white officials were up until dawn with an open line to the White House.
I'm very happy to be able to announce that we have come today to the climax of a long struggle for justice, freedom, and human dignity in the city of Birmingham.
After more than 5,000 arrests, the white people of Birmingham had finally agreed to integrate, and the state courts removed Bull Connor after 7 terms in office.
Well, folks, it's official. Mr. Bull Connor is out of a job.
Bull Connor was beat by the young people of the city of Birmingham.
But what really surprised us was when Kennedy came on television and addressed the nation and said, this is the end of segregation.
We are confronted primarily with a moral issue. It is as old as the scriptures and is as clear as the American Constitution. The heart of the question is whether all Americans are to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities, whether we are going to treat our fellow Americans as we want to be treated.
I remember watching the president on TV, and I knew he was talking about me.
If an American, because his skin is dark, cannot enjoy the full and free life which all of us want, then who among us would be content to have the color of his skin changed and stand in his place?
And once he made that statement, it's like
tears started flowing. It's like, oh man, this guy gonna preach. And he went on and on and on.
Now the time has come for this nation to fulfill its promise.
President was assassinated 5 months later for his landmark act civil rights was passed in 1954.
Broke the back of Birmingham. Birmingham led to the March on Washington. Birmingham changed the South in an incredible way.
Dr. King led the civil rights movement until his assassination 5 years later.
There would be retaliations, riots, and a fatal bombing in the church where it all began.
Of course, they were getting that church out of here. 3 months later, the Klan bombed 16th Street.
But in the year of 1963, in the month of May, in the city of Birmingham,
Because of what has happened, we can say from the depths of our
Amen.
hearts, as never before, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
You know why? Because they were not looking for us. They were never looking for the children. The secret weapon.
I felt like I was a giant at 15.
Yes.
Amen.
The unsung heroes. The children. It's really funny to think about it, that the police, the fire department, and the KKK were beaten by us kids. You know why? Because they were not looking for us. They were never looking for the children. The secret weapon.
I felt like I was a giant at 15.
Yes. The
so pretty.
unsung heroes.
Woo, Jesus. That was a good lesson today. That was a good lesson today. Did you guys enjoy today? Did you guys enjoy today? Amen, amen, amen. Yes, yes, yes. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Until the next one. Hey, Jess, hopefully you saw enough of it. Or if not, you can always catch the rerun, baby. But how you doing, Jess? Like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. And I want y'all to know, love one another. And don't get into all this new, don't listen to these ops, okay? We come from strong people, baby. We come from strong people, baby. Take them statistics and stuff it up your butt. Go listen to the people. If you hear somebody talking, don't listen to them. Go research it yourself. See how great our uncles. Remember, this is 1963. 1963. This ain't that long ago. We still got our older siblings, our aunts, our uncles, that is in that age. So if them kids, this happened in 1963, go back 15 years. 43, 45, these people, they would have been born in the 1940s. These kids were born in the mid-1940s. By the time they got the middle of 1940, you go back 15 years, right? So if you know anybody that's in their 40s, who was born in the 1940s / going into the 1950s, these are the children. If you want to know what they look like, that's what they look like. That's an actual picture. That's an actual picture. And all this crap, yes, I'm going to say it in every video until I'm tired of saying it. All these ops, that's, hey, the woman this, the woman that. And you know they're lying. They're lying. They're lying. When they say, oh, a traditional woman and a modern woman, freaking show me when a black woman sat down. Show me where majority of the women were sitting home cooking, taking care of a damn man. First, when the men ain't really had no damn job. Stop it. Stop it. When? They don't never tell you these things. And here go these stupid women. Oh yeah, you're right. I gotta start cooking. And no, you could do that. You could do all of that. Take care of your man. But don't ever think that you didn't play an important role. You did not play an important role. Like I told you, when they sat in that church, and Dr. King said that we're going to march. None of the men wanted to. He said, stand up. Nobody stand up. He said, stand up. Nobody stand up. Who stood up? Freaking one girl. It went from one girl to the next girl to the next girl. Then the men stood up. Then the men stood up. And they got their friends all around town, and they all stood up. Women, stop letting these new age men diminish you. Stop letting today's men diminish you and diminish everything you have done. Every man now in 2022 has benefited from a woman. History don't say nothing about the black man. History say black people. That's somebody's mother. That's somebody's aunt. That's somebody's grandkid. That's somebody's kid. That's somebody's future mother. That's somebody's future grandmother. And how long her genes go. And you'll tell me about women? These them are ops. All them gurus, they ops. Number ops. Now they got us continuously arguing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That means you don't love your people. That means you don't love your people. I got other videos I have shown. Women. Every time we was in freaking slave, we was even enslaved. Every time that our master was going out to get them men, you always seen a woman come forth and the man had to push her behind. Because we rather stand in front of our men. That's what we do. Now they're trying to break us in 222. They're trying to break us down now. Let's just break these women down. For what? You benefited from us all this time. Now you don't want to benefit from us? Now we must be led to a kitchen? When was we stuck in the damn kitchen? Every video I show majority of men and women. I didn't see a bunch of men do shit. I have not seen a bunch of just strictly men. Only time I seen strictly men was the Million Man March. And guess what? It wasn't violent. Women, know your role. Know your role in which you have played for the people in 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and so on. Don't let these fake gurus fill your head up with, you too masculine. Oh, you too feminine. What the fuck? Get up out my face. Get up out my face. That could be my great aunt or something. I'm watching my great picture. Can you imagine when people show these things? They gotta say, hey, that's my great aunt. Remember, this is 63. It wasn't that long ago. 60, 70, 80, 90, 2000, 2010, 2020. So this has been only 60 years. Only 60 years ago. And don't think that we still wasn't fighting. Don't think that we wasn't fighting. Because see, with the kids that are in the 60s, we ain't gonna do no more. We are not going to do it anymore. It will not happen again. Anytime you're trying to people more about how to act and what's your role, instead of telling you about your people, something is wrong with you. Something seriously wrong with you. When you only study a woman's role or a man's role, something is wrong with you. What about bettering your people? You want us to sit home and take care of a freaking man and a man? No, that's not what our people is made of. Don't let these suits, oh, I got on a suit. So, I got thousands of $5,000. So, look what you leading your people. If you got thousands of people and you're a guru, and only thing they talking about is men versus women, women versus men, something wrong with you. That's why we can't get nowhere. That is exactly why we cannot get nowhere. I could go on and on and on and on and on. You know I can. I can go on and on and on. But I have to go. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. And until next time, all of you have a beautiful day. Catch you on the next one. I'm out. Peace.